It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar today, we're at the fabulous Wayfare on Freilich Street, which is a couple of blocks down from Napoleon Avenue, in what used to be called the Killing Fields, but now is perfectly safe. So if you'd like to come here and have a drink, it's Happy Hour between 3 and 7 every single day, and there's an awesome brunch on the weekends. And during Happy Hour, you can get half-price drinks and half-price bar food here at Wayfare on Freilich Street. And today's Happy Hour is brought to us by Door Furniture. For the last 80 years, Door Furniture has been serving retail customers throughout the greater New Orleans area from its home base on Elysian Fields in the Marigny, and Strategic Resumes. If you want to sharpen up your resume, your LinkedIn profile, or other job search skills, go to Strategic Resumes. And if you'd like to get away, go to Travel Central in Metairie, where you can start your holiday search with a free person. It's kind of like going on Kayak or Expedia, except someone else does it for you. It doesn't cost you anything either. Thanks to the Basic Swimming Gym, where you can get swimsuits and stuff for yoga there on Magazine Street, next to Basics underneath the lingerie store. Hangover Destroyer is the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover, and thanks to the Positive Vibrations Foundation, who create and encourage community, and who's not opposed to that, through the development and preservation of arts, music, culture, and heritage. Thanks to everybody at our Patreon family. If you'd like to join our Patreon family, go to patreon.com, search for It's New Orleans Happy Hour, and for as little as $1 a month, you can be a part of our Patreon family. And if you're looking for Andrew Duhon, he's not here, but he could be in a town near you. Go to andrewduhon.com and see where he's playing, supporting his new record called False River, which is out now. And the human beings sitting around this table here are Monica Stevens. Hey, Monica.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, me too. Small world.
Yes.
It says here that you're a child psychologist. Is that true?
That's what they call me.
That's what they call you. What do kids call you?
Dr. Stevens.
Doctor. Are you an actual doctor?
I'm an actual doctor.
Oh, it doesn't say that here. So Dr. Stevens, I presume. Okay. What are they? What kind of kids are they?
So I work with kids in the kindergarten through 8th grade population, primarily in the public school system. They sometimes have worse names for me than Dr. Stevens. I just want to clarify. What do they call you? Didn't you say we could say anything?
You can say anything. There's no FCC, and no one's going to tell you can't say.
Well, so we deal with race relations quite a bit. We deal with the intersection of poverty and privilege. And sometimes I might be the white bitch, and sometimes I might be Monica. It depends on what information they've been able to gather from me.
Can I write that down, the white bitch?
You can.
Okay, and do they stress
white?
Do they stress the word white or bitch?
Bitch is more prominent, I would say, but both.
How would they say it?
Bitch.
The white bitch, not the white bitch.
Only
so
when
it's
I'm
not like a racist thing. It's more they just, wow.
Okay.
How about that?
Maybe the FCC is here.
I think that the spirits are telling us something.
Wow.
That's never, I don't know what that was, but that has never happened before. I thought maybe that was a sort of a emergency broadcast. Are we on the emergency broadcast service here?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm sorry about that, whatever that was. Anyway, nice to meet you, white bitches.
Yeah, thank you.
We don't get a lot of white bitches. What's that? Tell us what happened there.
We're still there.
We didn't turn the speaker on.
Can you turn that? That is really crazy. Okay.
Wow. All right. Okay. I think we call her Dr. Stevens for the rest of the show.
Dr. Stevens, I think we better...
Okay,
yeah,
I'm going to go with the
good
shaman.
idea.
I think we leave it at that.
So Brett Will, talking to that microphone. This is Brett Will Taylor. So good they named him 3 times. Is your real name Brett Will, or did you add the Will in the middle to distinguish you from Brett Taylor?
It's a long story, but it's...
we have time.
Exactly, and we have sound. Brett is the name of my... It's the 3 men who had the earliest influence on me. Brett is my grandfather, Taylor was my stepfather's name, and Will was a name from my father's side of the family. So
what is your actual real name?
Brett Will Taylor.
But how many...
So I go by Brett Will or Brett. It doesn't really matter.
BWT?
BWT.
But
lots of BWT.
Did you choose those names, or did
I actually did
choose?
choose. I did choose those names, so I changed my name back.
So what was your original name?
My original name was James Willard Woodruff, which was
that's
all
awesome.
my father.
James?
All my father's side. James Willard.
James
And
Willard Woodruff.
And I think the trauma from those, you're old enough to remember this, though you may
Not
not have
really.
you may not have been in the States. In the 70s, there was a made-for-TV movie called Willard, and it was about an outcast boy whose best friend was a rat that he trained to kill people or something like that.
That's my kind of show.
Do you know
There
that?
we go. And it happened to be
Alex?
on when I was an outcast boy in elementary school. So I think the trauma from carrying the name Willard for all those years led me years later to change the name.
honestly,
Then they
is
they
that-
also made it into a movie that did very well.
there was a remake
Sea Rock
with Crispin
knows.
Glover. I remember it very
See.
well.
Yep.
Ah, that's a good point. Chris McGlover would be a great person to have a pet killer rat.
Right?
I've never heard
right?
this movie.
You ever heard of it? Alex
Oh, it was
Massa is
very-
here. Alex is a trumpet player who's played trumpet with all kinds of exciting people. We don't know who any of them are right now. But he's going to tell us who those are. And this is an interesting development as well. Of all the musicians we've had on the show, and this is our 8th year of doing this, people send us bios, for musicians, and normally it's I played with this person or I played with that person. So anyway, this bio comes from our producer, Graham DePonte. He sends me your bio, and it's from a TED Talk.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had a trumpet player who's given a TED Talk.
I didn't know about that.
Very
John-
nice.
What's up
Jonathan,
with the TED Talk?
Talking to the microphone here.
What's up with the TED Talk,
This is
Alex?
the voice of Jonathan
Because you're not
Freilich, who's-
talking much right now.
No, I'm not.
So,
You're
Jonathan,
right.
how did you get to be a trumpet player and be invited to give a TED Talk?
That'd be Alex.
I'm Alex.
Alex, sorry, Jonathan. I was looking at Alex.
Read
when
your
I said-
tablecloth. Read your tablecloth.
Alex,
I got to remember my name, too.
how did that happen?
There were a group of people from my hometown in Rapid City, South Dakota, who contacted me and just told me that our city, or my hometown,
Rapid City, South Dakota.
Yeah, Rapid City, South Dakota. They were putting on their 4th annual TEDx event, and that I should consider speaking. But I said, "What in the hell am I going to talk about?" They're like, "You'll figure it out." And so
How'd they even get your phone number, these people?
South Dakota, everyone has everyone's
Everyone
phone
knows
number.
everybody? What does it
Exactly.
look like in South Dakota?
The phone numbers?
No, the phone. Are they numerical?
What?
Are they numerical, or is it like Lassie? Yeah. Well, you have to say,
Dial 9.
So, yeah, what are they?
Oh,
what were
shit.
those, Jonathan? What were those Lassie phone numbers? You remember?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember that? Hey, you remember that? Certainly, Brett. Well, because you're old enough to remember Willard with the pet rat.
That's it. Well, there
I
were
would love
Willard,
to be
there were
named,
Willard phone
frankly.
numbers.
Wouldn't you like to be named after a guy who is a pet killer rat? Frankly, is Willard still available? Because I
Well,
would take
I
that.
was
I
for
think
a
most of us
while,
are.
and then I kind of moved. I grew out of that phase.
But wouldn't you like to be caught after? Well, really, seriously, that sounds like. Why would you want to get away from the guy with a pet killer rat?
I think 40 years wearing that name was
I see
to
you
share
changed
it.
at 40.
Yeah. So I think
thought you were in
so
elementary
now
school.
that there's some other little outcast kid that gets to run around and be Willard with the pet rat, so
Okay.
the killer pet rat. Maybe
The legacy lives on.
maybe in Grand Rapids and is creating
City.
Rapid City. Excuse me.
South Dakota.
It's hard to read
Okay,
upside
so
down.
I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't mean what the phone numbers look like. I mean, what does it?
Does your new naming
Jonathan.
scheme reflect does your new naming scheme reflect some new identity that you've got that's unrelated to killer rats and the show?
As I said, it relates to father figures.
Oh, okay.
So that was where it came from.
And
Yeah.
this is the voice of guitar player extraordinaire Jonathan Freilich, who decided to stop by.
Yeah.
And to
It's
accompany
unexpected.
Alex. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice to see you.
Good to
Okay,
see
so we'll get back to that. Why do you change your name in a minute? But I just want to know, what does it look like in Rapid City, South Dakota, for real?
It's in the
is
middle
it rural?
of the Black Hills. There's about 70,000 people in the city proper, and 150,000, maybe 175 in the metro,
Right.
Rapid City metro area. It's really beautiful. It's in the heart of the Black
And
Hills.
Are they black? Or are they white, like white bitch type?
No, from a distance they look black, and when some of the indigenous tribes were coming west from the Minnesota area, they saw the hills from a distance, and they looked black instead of like mountains or hills covered in trees.
And they spoke English, these people?
No, they did not.
I wonder what they called. What was it called originally? Think of it.
Paha Sapa.
Aha. Say it again.
Paha Sapa. P-A-H-A
Yeah.
S-A-P-A.
Paha Sapa. And which Indian language is that?
I think it's
the spot.
Lakota.
Lakota. We could
Lakota.
Sea Rock.
I would bet.
Ah,
look-
Thomas
look.
thinks it's Sioux. Sea Rock will tell us in a minute. Okay, so there you are anyway on the phone, presumably here in New Orleans, because you've been here for a while, right?
Yeah, 5 years, just about.
Okay, and so they call you up from Rapid City, South Dakota, because everyone's got your phone number.
Because everyone's got my phone number.
Black Hills 311 or something.
605.
605.
605.
and they say, hey, come and give a TED talk. So what happens after that?
I applied with an original idea.
What was it?
My original idea was kind of the intersectionality on race and music education and why some areas have higher level musicians and artists than other groups in those areas, and like why that is, and systems that have been put in place to make sure that happens in certain ways. So,
are you suggesting there's some sort of conspiracy of systems in place to encourage?
No, that would be preposterous. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
So, what systems are in place that would encourage people to be a good musician in New Orleans, say, compared to South?
No, not necessarily in New Orleans. Just in different areas of the states, like.
Okay, well, let's say
Music costs money to learn in a lot of areas. New Orleans is one of the few areas in the world where music doesn't cost any money to be able to learn, and to be able to learn well, to be able to talk to your elders without...
That's because we have a history of music here, and it's passed...
the whole city is music. The city is music. It's more than a history.
I've been here for quite a while. I can't play anything. What about you, white bitch? Can you play anything?
No, I cannot.
How long have you been here?
Since 2010.
2010, so that's 23 years.
No.
How many years is that, roughly, say,
8
mathematically?
years.
8 years.
This is my
That's long enough
summer.
to learn to play something if you were serious about it.
If I was serious about it, yes. I would push back a little on you around that it costs nothing to learn music. Only that, I think for the most part, there's a lot of schools that have great music programming, but there's a lot of schools that don't. And there also are some fees associated with it, and some parental involvement is necessary. But there's really great programs like the Roots of Music, which I think deserve a shout out, that are great at involving kids from lower income communities or not. In music education, they supply the instruments, and they also keep kids really busy, like 5-6 days a week, and they provide transportation. And so there's definitely organizations out there that are overcoming some of the barriers. But you're absolutely right that it's the strength of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to most other places.
I thought you were disagreeing with it, but now you're agreeing.
I just push back a little.
Okay, so...
Hey, listen, you can have great music education and terrible musicians. I just want to point that out.
Yes.
There's other reasons why people are doing very well in different areas as well.
What is the reason, then, in your opinion, Jonathan?
The reason is familiarity and importance of music as a cultural item in cultures. So in other words, if it's a vernacular thing that explains something and is related to life cycle events and is generally related to stuff, then it has a increased significance, and also people know what they want to play, and it's related to their linguistic situation. And if it's not, then it's a struggle, and it either way, because it's a complicated form, and unless you have very good teachers that can explain to people why or how they would want to form such a thing or get involved in it, then you end up with a kind of strange soullessness.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Jinx.
Yes,
Yeah.
you knew I was going to say it too. It's kind of funny.
I like that.
So when you say linguistic, you're talking about language, not linguistic as in sense of linguistics, but music as a language.
Yeah, but
So
it's
we
also related to talking language. I mean, that's
really?
a feature of it. Sure. Any
That's
sound
interesting.
making. Yes.
I find the opposite. I find that musicians tend to often, apart from you two intellectuals, they often tend to be inarticulate and unable to express themselves very well, or unwilling to, or not wanting to.
Wow. That's not what I
You don't
say.
find that, Brett? Well,
Absolutely.
not at all.
No. And I think the thing is also, and this may just be saying all this a little bit of a different way, but I think for kids, music isn't an outlier in New Orleans. I mean, it's not something that you have to seek. It's not something that's unusual. It is, whether it's the defining part of our city, because I don't think you can define New Orleans in any way, but it is certainly a fundamental element of our city. So you can't escape music here, or it's hard to, which means that if you're a little kid that perhaps only could talk through music, or that's your preferred way of communicating, those opportunities are here. Mm-hmm. It's and they're here formally and informally.
I think for real. Yes, there's that, and also we should discuss the fact that part of the problems in education is also teaching people to be fluent in their own damn language. Like, people are not being educated to the level that we could educate them in general, which is why you end up with a lack of articulateness, especially where people become frustrated and can run things in music.
Is articulateness a word, actually?
Articulation is a word.
And it's and I totally echo your thought there. And language, also thinking outside of where you're from or whatever, but that there's nonverbal and verbal ways of expressing. And when we sort of systematically can look at intellectual testing for kids, especially those that have been exposed to trauma or chronic stress, and they tend to test higher on nonverbal performance tests than verbal performance tests. And so things like sports, music, arts, all the other ways of expressing oneself become way more important than how you perform on whatever stupid standardized test they're doing right now.
Yeah. That's right. And let's also keep in mind in New Orleans, part of what's missing in education in some parts, though I think they've almost caught up, is the number of kids who've never actually been in a school building. They've been in trailers. And so you go to parts of New Orleans East, and there's kids that years and years and years, some kids would go through an entire elementary school experience, and they've only been in a trailer. So, I think there are. I mean, this isn't
New Orleans or Mississippi?
No, we're talking about New Orleans, and especially go to New Orleans East. And there are, and of course, this comes from the storm and other things where the story is it's all about the lower ninth. Anyone who spends time here knows that's not true. But I think, to me, the beauty of music. I'm not a musician. I'm certainly not a psychologist. I don't ask deep probing questions. To me, the beauty of music here is. It's a doorway, and it is a way that some folks are able to access something that helps them survive growing up here, and kind of make sense of it. So,
I agree.
Hey, would you like to hear some music while you're here?
Absolutely.
Because I happen to have two
you hear
musicians.
one or two?
Yeah.
I want to hear a TED Talk.
I like that.
We haven't even got to the TED Talk, and we haven't.
Like, where did we go? We're lost in the not. They're not black.
See, and that's what happened with the topic. I realized that would happen, so I threw it out, and I went to a whole new idea.
So that was
you're
just
holding back from
Okay,
us.
that's pretty good.
Well, we just went there, and that's what happens with that.
That idea was just a complete waste of time.
Yeah, that's a doctoral thesis. That's not a
TED
18-minute
Talk
talk.
is not a doctoral thesis.
Are you interested in doing a PhD?
Ooh.
Have you thought about that?
Yes.
Would you like a group of children with which to work?
Speaking of PhD, I need another glass of
Oh,
wine.
we can hook you up. These girls here, the girls from Stay Local are also working as waitresses today. Thanks. Okay, so what
do you want to play?
Yeah, what are we going to play here, guys?
That's what they're insinuating. That's what they're offering.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of segue toward.
Yeah, all right.
Why don't you play Saints?
Oh, no.
You guys have
play,
it?
I'll get my guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
so Jonathan Freilich is a guitar player who's one of the original members of the New Orleans Klezmer All-Stars, as well as the Naked Orchestra and a lot of other incredible music around town. And Alex Massa is played with all sorts of people, including currently Samantha Fish, I believe, which is a whole other story which we're going to have to get to in a minute. But now we're going to have a completely unrehearsed moment.
Unrehearsed.
Do you guys play together regularly, or is this a special occasion?
We've played together some.
Right. And when was the last time?
November.
November, that's right. Because
Okay,
Alex
so that
has
was
been out of town a lot.
last year. So you've been on the road with Samantha Fish, I heard.
Yes.
How's
Correct.
that going? 'Cause
It's
she's sort of a rock star.
She is a rock star.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, she is. It's been an insane. I started in January, and it's been totally insane, and in good ways and bad ways, and everything in between.
And
It's
who's in the horn section? How many? I mean, what instruments are
it's a 7-piece band.
there? Wow.
Yeah.
Last
Big
time I
band.
saw her, there was 3 people.
That is
So,
correct.
so she's added, like, how many horns?
2 horns,
Yeah.
1 violin, a keyboardist, and a keyboardist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool now. This is a whole show now.
Yeah, it's a spectacular, if you
Yeah.
will.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
So there's charts and everything now? You have to learn parts and everything?
yeah, we learn parts. We've thrown some new parts in, opened up some songs, and just doing the damn thing.
Wow. So that's cool. So you're playing big audiences in actual theaters and big
Yeah,
festivals?
yeah.
Where'd you just come from?
We our last show ended in our last tour ended in Philadelphia.
Cool.
Then the flight got canceled, so we had to drive down to D.C. and fly out.
Right.
Whole day ordeal.
Just like Spinal Tap. Okay, and you're getting paid and everything.
Yes.
So this has been a
I
great
do get
summer.
paid.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Came down from the mountains, and here he goes.
The Black Hills. Okay, so what have you decided to play?
I don't know.
We're gonna play this. We're gonna play one of my original tunes.
Oh, we are?
It's an E flat blues.
Okay, let's go for it.
Hey, do
called-
we need to mic this up, by the way, Thomas?
Ooh, that sounds
we were
good.
getting a show.
I don't know,
I'm
we have
gonna
an
have to take these off to
Did you know we
play.
were getting a show?
So
I'm very happy.
yeah.
Okay.
He did the hair flip, so he must be ready.
is that too loud?
Are we okay? All right.
So it's like a boogaloo.
Start it.
Alex, what do you call that?
That was an original tune of mine called Sex Hair.
Sex Hair.
Hair.
H-A-I-R.
H-A-I-R.
And is it written about anybody in particular?
Or is it about a single hair? Or like that's
It's a great word.
It's instead of pubic. I mean, instead of pubic, it's sex hair.
No, it's like, after you...
Like it's better than bedhead.
Yeah.
It's cleaner than hairs, right? Using just the term hair is much more sanitary than hairs, right?
Well, and that makes people question.
Like if I said
parts of
sex
you,
hairs,
like, that you have
if I said sex
it's
hairs...
obscene.
Yeah,
well,
then
it also could be like there's 550.
that would be something the
sex
FCC
hairs.
would get us on.
Yeah.
Alex,
Your glass
I get
of
the
wine
meaning.
is here.
I get the
We would
meaning.
have to go see Dr. Whitebitch if we had sex hairs.
That's not my
And
specialty.
God only knows what you charge for that.
Yes. No.
And where would we find our Sex Hair song?
It
Is it available to be stolen on the internet somewhere?
Pretty soon you can steal it.
Okay. Off of what album?
I'm releasing a short EP in about the middle to late September, and it's just four or five tunes.
Okay.
And that'll be on it with a couple.
And can we actually buy it?
Yeah, or you can
Why
steal
would
it.
you want to do that?
You don't need to do that. You don't
So
want
we
to
don't
do
have to
that.
buy his
Buying
drinks.
music. No one's buying music at all. Did you see that Peter Frampton put on the Facebook post?
I saw
of his?
that.
Is that true?
What did he write?
What did it say?
He said, for 55 million streams of "Baby I Love Your Way," I received like $2,000 or $1,750.
Yeah, 1,760.
And he went to Washington with ASCAP last year. This is what the tweet said. It was a meme or tweet, whatever. And he said that the Congress or the lawmakers' jaws dropped when he told them that.
And they're not going to do anything anyway.
Well, I mean, that the Music Modernization Act that's in the House right now, or is it the Senate? It's the House. Is poised to change that. I don't know all the details on it. I just know that they're working on that.
So that
Well, that makes us feel better.
It's not going to do
Congress is on
anything.
it.
It's not going to. Musicians, I understand. I think the musician payout off of the entire music business is 12%. The rest of the money goes to the other people, and
Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Uh,
and I
they're
doubt that.
11.5%.
I doubt that will change. There'll probably be an increase in money. 11% will end up going to musicians, and the rest will go to.
What does the Music Modernization Act say? Is it going to actually really make Spotify pay musicians like you guys?
No, I don't know all the exact language. I just know that they're working, and it has bipartisan support. They're working to make songwriters more money. I don't know if that's
Songwriters.
Yeah, songwriter.
Yeah.
Famous, the holy songwriter. Yes.
Okay.
So, what do you musicians make about, I guess, this idea? Like, I'm a big Radiohead fan, and they release, I guess, second to last album, just straight, and you could donate whatever you wanted. I don't know what their numbers ended up, but I paid like what I would pay for a record store just because I appreciated choice.
Yeah.
Is that viable?
I think.
If you're Radiohead, it is.
Well,
Wait,
I think,
there's a
I think
voice
it's
from
valuable.
above.
Where did that come from?
That was Thomas.
That was my gin and tonic talking.
I think it's valuable because a lot of people, when given that choice, whether it's a big artist or an independent artist at the local level, when given a choice, be like, hey, instead of getting it from Spotify, come download it for free from my website. If you want to give me 50 cents, if you want to give me $5, if you want to give me $20 for it, you can do whatever, but at least come to my site and download
but
it
no
for
one's
free.
ever going to do that. People are going to go to
I don't-
Spotify still.
I mean, like,
Well, if you're
it's kind of,
going to go.
It was
yeah.
huge.
they're
Yeah.
radio.
it's kind of like,
yeah.
it's kind of
Sure.
like Patreon.
Right.
It's the same idea as Patreon. It's
Right, that's true. But we've now got used to going to Spotify and whatever else, Google Play or whatever the hell else.
well,
people
give them an
else-
incentive.
There's got to be some way that they've got to collect the money for you and get it to you because no one's going to go to your website.
Well, I wouldn't say
Right.
no
That's
one.
not necessarily
have
true
about-
either.
Brett
but-
Will Taylor might, or
I have an average of 2.5.
James Willard Woodruff.
2.5 visits a
Both?
day to my website.
Very nice.
2.5 a day.
2.5 a day.
That 2.5.
After
on
this
average.
show,
That's
you'll
average,
be at
yeah.
2.25.
So some days it's 3 and other days it's 4.
Some days it's 0.
0.
The hard
Well,
thing
some
about this
days there are
conver-
big days. Monica.
The hard thing about this conversation for me is if we're talking about just bridging the conversations, if we're talking about how to make a music career lucrative, and then we're also talking about how to give kids who are not going to otherwise excel in traditionally academic subjects some hope of how to make a living out of it, like, what am I supposed to do when I'm talking to?
I think you're supposed to not encourage them at all to think that, or even any musicians. I think you're supposed to encourage them to go for the highest,
serious?
the highest thing that they can hope to achieve with music as an art form, and that at this point in time, it's so ludicrous to think that you're going to attempt to be famous or make money from doing music if you don't love it. Really, the thing you should be doing is aiming to make a living any old how so that you can play exactly whatever you want with absolutely no market pressure to do what is essentially an anti-enlightenment situation going on in
Okay.
arts. I mean, it's like the only way to generate that is to have people really looking after the art form, becoming people that are amazingly literate at
Are
that.
in it for the the game alone.
and are in it because they love it. They will generate gravity that way. But right now, people trying to make the next same thing that went on before that made money the last time. I mean, this is what the game has been now for 20 years.
Well, that's not art.
It's not art. It's not art.
That's good feedback.
Well, what is it?
It's
Failed call.
commercial pressure in
Right.
a society that's hardly offering a living for certain kinds of people and certain in other kinds of
It's
fields.
the same thing of how many parents tonight, when their kid, or as their kid gets ready for school, will say, you should be a business person, you should be a lawyer, you should be a doctor, because
Right.
that's how you make money. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great when people do make money off of it. I mean, but but the idea, and definitely, there's all we've had definitely 60, 70 years of the dream of the rock star, which is now so ingrained that that everyone's driving towards it, which is or wants to drive towards it if they get in because they want to be young. They take that, we can convert. I love it because that bolt of energy that you come out of adolescence with is something else and should be expressed in great ways and not put down, and can take on an incredible, endless number of forms in society. And we have it regimented down to, I'm just going to make the biggest song and it's going to be popular on. Now, I mean, is this really how we want to stifle the full energy of
Well, how did
Yeah,
you guys get started
This is how we wanna
as
do it.
musicians? Did you start out thinking you were going to be a rock star because you played the trumpet? What made you pick up the trumpet of all things? the Black
Because there were
Hills.
too many drummers in the middle school band.
That was it.
Well, he said, "Does anyone want to switch?" And I was like, "I'm tired of playing the drums."
Was it hard to pick up the trumpet? Did you have a good teacher, or did you have to teach yourself off of YouTube?
I had an okay teacher.
Right.
That was way before YouTube. That was before the internet.
You learned the trumpet
Yeah.
before the internet.
Not
Before
the
the
internet.
internet.
That was
That's great.
exaggerated. But it was. I mean, I played the piano a little bit, so I knew that music was patterns and shapes.
Right.
I didn't know anything else. It took me forever to
It
get.
seems like a hard instrument to pick up. I'm not here. People play the trumpet everywhere you go, but
Just get a
Thinking of-
YouTube video, man.
yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
You just blow in one end
There's
and
art right there. Yeah.
you just blow in the one end and move your fingers up and down.
Basically,
It's
and then
basic.
you just hope.
It's pretty simple.
You just
Nothing
hope.
When did you find out you were good? How long had you been playing it before you thought, hey, I'm pretty good?
Haven't
at
found
this?
out yet,
No,
so I'll
you're
let
still
you know.
waiting for someone
I'll send
to
you an
figure
email.
that out. Okay. Very good. So why did you use the term anti-enlightenment, John?
Yeah.
Did you say that? That's a great term. You think that's the era that we're in now? We're in the
Endarkment.
anti-enlightenment.
Yeah, essentially, we have an absolute non-flowering of all arts and philosophy. I mean, if you consider what people consider Enlightenment periods in human stuff, they're periods of great tolerance, an influx of influences from all over that have been in the dark forever, and a free flowering of human idea that takes. I'm just saying, if you don't have those going on, you have the lights going out, which is essentially
Right.
what
Would
we're
you
doing.
agree with that, Brett Will, as a storyteller
Oh,
and shaman? Do you know what
you
Brett
know,
Will is?
I don't.
I'm gonna tell you guys.
I think, and maybe I've just gotten too old. I think art always exists, just like love always exists, just like hate always exists. And I think, and I don't mean this as a challenge to you, because you seem to be a very thoughtful person, which is maybe making me want to go to bars more often. But I think we live in this crazy world. It's like what social media has done. And just politics, or just what we've done in American society, is we've made the game about being the expert and having the answer. And within that is this absolutely ridiculous idea that there has never been a time as bad or as good or as whatever as ours. And I think that's bullshit, because the Earth's been here kind of a long time. People have been here a fairly long time. If you know history, there's always been ebbs and flows. Right. And so I totally agree with you that there are these beautiful kumbaya periods where things flower and beautiful art comes out. Yeah. I also think part of the story of this city, and I mean this very carefully because I'm not sensationalizing this at all. I've spent years working in mental health. Part of the story of New Orleans is that from darkness, from violence, from pain, from destruction, can also come music.
Yes.
And I think it's, now there's layers to this, because there's also what the Yahoos in D.C. and in corporate America are doing are completely different. I don't follow music a lot, but I don't know anyone. Who was the guy with Atlantic Records for years?
Ahmet Ertegun?
No, before that. He did Whitney, and he was Closet Case, which is redundant for music industry. But
Clive Owens.
Clive Owens. Yeah, Clive. So, I don't think there's anybody like
Davis.
Clive Davis. I don't think there's anybody like Clive in the music industry. Or, you go back to Elvis and you had Sam whatever, who were obviously huge money makers, but they were looking for talent and for artists. And maybe that doesn't exist, but I think there's still great people, maybe even Republicans, if they can deal with their sex hair, making great music. I think it's part of what we do.
Oh, yeah. No. Humans, there's musicality. I don't think that disappears. That's not what I'm talking about. Even in periods that aren't enlightenments, there's never not been music unless people prohibit it. And that does happen. Mm-hmm. And then that is one of the features. People involved in prohibitions of things is one of the features of not going through a particularly enlightening time period. But on the other hand, it's hard to say. I said that very blanket. We're in a massive flowering of science and development and technology that is, could be called unparalleled, and it's, and that really, it's not to give it its fair shake. It's massive in terms of human development and what's happened that way. And in fact, it influences the music business, it influences music, it influences the arts altogether. So I'm not saying that, but there is an end of it that has to do with things like philosophy, connection, meaning. We have a huge deficit of meaning going on, which is very difficult.
It's a very mental time. And with that science, it's very mental. It's problem solving, which implies there are 5 steps to take, which, you go from that to become a great artist. You go to this school, you study for this many years, and it happens. And I think there's another side to it, right?
Well, Brett, what about your own personal enlightenment and your own personal development? That was what I'm pretty interested to hear something about here. Because I read this in your bio on your website, and now I understand what happened here, because you were originally James Willard Woodruff. and
then I was consumed by killer rats.
40, you had like an experience.
Yeah, I did.
You had an awakening of some sort.
I did. Well, yeah, I certainly would call it. I guess one of the headlines or the sort of hooks or pauses I would add to that is, I don't think it's a journey of enlightenment. I think certainly God knows. I think in a way we're all enlightened. We all have whatever those gifts are, however you want to define it. To me, what's missing in life, and that's maybe part of what you're saying, is an awareness. An awareness of just how amazing this place, how amazing life is. And so for me, 40 found me in Boston, Massachusetts. I had a career in politics. I had moved to Boston when I was 24 to come out and to get in politics, because as a Texas boy, I just thought that's what you could do, that Boston couldn't wait to get Texans up to tell people how to do politics.
Good place for gay politics.
Yeah, it is a good place.
It's
in the water.
It did turn out to be a good place for gay politics.
It did. So I had a great life in politics. I had a great consulting business. I was a type A East Coast gay, very happy, all the accoutrements of success, and woke up from a nap on a Saturday afternoon, and a raven flew up from between the slats of our wood floor and brushed my cheek and said, "It's time," and disappeared into the ceiling. And
was it a real, actual bird, or were
no?
You
it was, I guess, like a vision, but it was pretty damn real at the time. And I was not a guy. I would not at 40. I would not even have stayed for the end of that statement. So it was kind of freaky. And 2 days, and I just rolled over and went back to sleep, because it was like, okay, yeah, it must have been the falafel. So then 2 days later, I was at the Sports Club LA, because being a type A gay, on Monday I spent $125 for my personal trainer, And then I worked out on the elliptical machine for an hour, and then I spent $150 for my yoga trainer because, yoga
on the
with
same
Lululemon
day?
was and you want to get it all. You don't have time for that stuff through the week.
For yoga. I'm a yoga teacher.
Oh, perfect. Well, we should talk.
We
We
need to
should
talk
talk.
about your prices
We
that
should
you're
talk.
spending.
Yeah.
You could do it a lot cheaper than $150.
Yeah, he's like, I'll do it $140.99. So I'm on the elliptical machine, or I think even Stairmaster, because I was younger, so I didn't have to have those crazy elliptical support things, and I just started rising up through the ceiling, and I went through the Sports Club LA, through the Ritz-Carlton, across the Boston Common, and over to where there was an Indian burial ground, and I was so mental. My whole thing was just like, I didn't know there was an Indian burial ground on the other side of Boston Common. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. And I was listening to Madonna.
What medication are you on?
Nothing, yeah. I was listening to Madonna, so I told my yoga teacher that I was in the groove. And she's like, I think you astral planed. And shades at this table, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. And I was like, astro, like astroturf? And I literally had to have her write it down. And it just started this... and then leaving the Sports Club LA, I could hear everyone's thoughts, which I was able to do for quite some time. Thoughts I didn't want to hear beyond sex hair.
You can't still do that right now, can you?
Only if I want to, and I don't, because it's not pleasant. But
Let's do a test. What am I?
Absolutely not. Exactly. She's like, I'm going to give you my card. Come see the psychiatrist.
No,
So,
I want you to give me your card.
yeah,
Okay,
but
so this is all just happening to you.
this happened to me in a span of 96 hours, and very unwanted.
And you haven't been reading books about spiritual
Oh,
development?
I didn't
Nothing.
even know what any of it. I
Okay.
mean, no, I didn't know what it was. So
Wow.
yeah. So that was started a 10 to 12-year journey, depending on how you count it.
You were in a real relationship then? You were married?
I was married to an amazing man.
And did you tell him? What happened when you told him?
I finally told him. He was and is a Bulgarian, and any of you who know any Eastern Europeans, his comment I will never forget, and I won't try to imitate his accent because he would find me and kill me. His comment was, I do not like change.
Whoa.
And I was like, well, whatever is doing this to me, I'll send that up and see if we can turn this off. And it didn't. And so, you jump forward to 10 or 12 years, however long it took. And really what it was about, and I didn't know any of this at the time, was what Jung would call the shadow journey, or Christian mystics call the dark night of the soul. And so what that really is about, the easiest way I've found to explain to people is we all have that thing about us, deep about us, that makes us flinch when we're looking in the mirror and you look away really quickly, or you can't quite finish that. And the journey is about excavating all that and building a relationship with all of it and trying to see what's good, what isn't, not even label it, and accept that we all have great stuff about us and we all have awful stuff about us.
So what do you do now? Did you walk away from politics and consulting and marriage and everything?
I did. Yeah, I didn't completely walk away from consulting. Thank God I have a couple clients that have stuck with me. Absolutely. Well, yeah, so I can pay for my Unipero and tonic. I don't have to drink that New Amsterdam shit, because I would shut this down if I had to drink New Amsterdam.
That's my favorite
Wrong
gin.
with New Amsterdam.
So you still hold down a day job at the same time as being what?
It's a transition.
Are you called a shaman now?
I think, some people do. My dead great-grandmother told me that's what I was. She appeared one night in a restaurant. I never met her and said it, and I didn't know what that was either. She didn't write it down. There wasn't a pen that the ghost could use. Yeah, I think ghosts. I think spirits struggle with pens and stuff. Except for
So what are you? What do you call yourself?
I'm Brett Will Taylor. I mean, I think
But do you do readings for people? I mean, are you
I do some.
psychic?
I actually did one earlier today, and but I feel like I'm on a bridge, which in a way we all are, right? Nietzsche said that being human is a going across, and so I think I may just be a little more aware of the possibility that all of us are on a bridge, and so I write. I do rituals with men, some sort of quote-unquote healing rituals. And I still do some consulting work, and I put it all under the rubric of storytelling, of helping people be aware of their story, but maybe a little bit beyond the superficial aspect of branding and crap like that. Yeah. Though I made a lot of money doing branding work, so I guess I shouldn't.
Are you doing therapy?
No.
Like Monica does?
No, absolutely no. I think that's part of what's wrong with this space is people decide that they're a healer or a savior or a martyr. Mm-hmm. What I tell people, what I can do is I can hold up a mirror. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's my work. So I can if I'm in a session with someone.
Well, what's a session for, though? What do you call it?
To hold up a mirror, because you see.
What do people think they're doing? They must be getting something out of it.
I think what they're getting out of it, some people get out of it a confirmation of, that's kind of what I've been seeing.
But
and
here's a path. Can you see the future, or?
I don't think anybody can see the future. I think
so
anybody who tells you
that. So
I see the present. What I see is the present, and I think that's a part of what's missing in society. This isn't you by a long shot.
Alex.
Alex never said it, but there are a lot of people who, when they prepare an EP, the space they're in is, sitting down with Beyonce and Jay-Z. Like, that's where they live now. They've made the billions and all that. And they step out of the present. And back to what we were talking about earlier, you talk about art, you talk about being a human. You can't be human, you can't be an artist if you're not present.
But then what about dreaming? What about having an ambition?
Dreaming.
Oh, ambition and dreaming is different.
Let's hear from. I want to hear from Monica.
Okay.
About that whole thing about Jungian stuff, dreams, the whole thing.
Get that out of here.
Go. Come on, Monica.
But that's the foundation of modern psychology. Everything that he's speaking about is the foundation of modern psychology. So those are all the names. And actually, a PhD in psychology is a doctorate in philosophy, because we're rooted in those major tenets of what the people that came before us think about humanity and think about how the mind works. So there's a lot of ancient wisdom that I think's pretty good, but some of it's trash for sure. And then, but so I think the difference between us is my practice is much more rooted in Western medicine practices.
Right.
And you're probably more. Would you identify Eastern? Is that fair?
I think it's not even. I see that people drop in and out of being with me again. You hold that mirror up, they're like, oh, here's those three things. You have usually your work, you have a long-term relationship with folks.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I would say is the deal. And it certainly is more Eastern than Western.
But that's cool. Sometimes people just want to drop in and they don't need a long-term relationship with insurance providers involved. And what we're starting to finally see, thank God, is integrative medicine, which is both things coming together, and you get a little more choice about it. Whereas it used to be very the doctor here, and I'm mimicking up, and then the patient down, and that it's very hierarchical. And now we're looking at more collaboration between patient and doctor.
Yep. And I think part of what I do, and I don't do this, I don't seek to do it, but what I've seen with folks, because I've also worked in community mental health as a consultant, not tied to this journey since 1995 or 92. But part of what I'm able to do, because it's softer, it's less intimidating, right? And it's more unknown, and it's simpler, is I can open a door sometimes for folks to be like, oh, right. And I think that maybe helps some people find...
So you can tell us the truth about ourselves.
Yeah, reflect a possibility. To me, it's a reflect a possibility. Whatever you want to do with that, awesome. There are a lot of people that will gladly take your money for years on that, but I think that's crazy.
Okay, you guys want to play another song while we're still here?
Sure.
And then after the song, then Alex, you have to tell us what was the TED Talk actually about.
Oh shit!
All right.
We never quite got to it. Yes. Okay, what are we playing this time?
I don't know. What do you want to play, Alex? It's your scene. I should let everyone know, Alex really said, can you come down and play with me on this show? And I had no idea I was coming on your show.
You didn't realize you were going to be dragged into this whole thing.
No, but I love it. I'm like, the Wayfare. Oh, it's that.
We love having you.
This next one... about 2 years ago, I got pulled into... About 2 years ago, I got pulled into the two and a half years ago. All these crazy musicians, Jonathan Freilich. I know it's not how you pronounce your name, but that's how I pronounce it.
It's fine. It's a good one.
He's a giving guy.
Helen Gillet, James Singleton, and Johnny Vodakovich, and they were all always improvising. They were just making everything up on the spot. And
that's a bunch of great musicians.
That was what I had been doing my whole life, and people told me it was wrong. And then I bumped into all these crazy motherfuckers, and they're like, "Oh no, this is
how you do it.
This is how you do it." So this next one is going to be a little journey.
Okay.
That we've entitled
Afternoons on Ferret.
In the Age of Anti-Enlightenment.
Oh, Anti-Enlightenment on Freilich.
Back up, everybody.
For the benefit of the future enlightenment.
It's like a time capsule.
It's a time capsule piece.
The lights here are in a bell jar. It looks like they grease the bottom and suck the air out into the vacuum.
Okay.
That's the next song.
Okay.
Anti-Enlightenment looks good, huh?
Yeah.
Do you want to call it Afternoons on Ferret in the Age of the Anti-Enlightenment?
Sure, let's call it that.
I like that. I don't know who came up
Call
with
my
that.
publisher.
I
That
would
was a
download
collective.
that.
That was a collective. That was very nice.
But wait until the new bill passes.
That's
Wait
right.
until otherwise we're.
The MMA.
Who wrote that? You guys both wrote that together. So it's co-writing.
We all write it.
So you both collect on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex, we have to get out of here at some point soon. But before we go, you have to tell us what was the eventual TED Talk topic.
It was about the art of listening in regards to free improvisation in music.
Okay.
Basically relating how we listen and, more importantly, how we don't listen in regards to specific experiences I've had within improvised music, and how one really big experience turned out horribly and one turned out really beautifully.
So you can have a bad jazz day.
Yes.
What
I've never heard of that. I've
You
never
can have
had
lots
one.
of them and then survive.
What happens when that happens, when you sit on the bandstand with all these talented people and it just doesn't work?
It's like looking inside yourself and seeing a big empty attic that's never
Nice.
been looked after.
Perfect.
The floorboards you might fall
Nailed
in.
it. You guys, sorry. I'm not trying to make this about me or my work, but
No,
I
do it.
kind of am.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I love this and I really want to look at your TED Talk, because we talk about the work that we're doing with kids that are sort of chaotic, that we play jazz as adults, in terms of there's not like a systematic way to do this thing, and you kind of got to like riff off one another, which is coming from like somebody who's shit about music, so correct me if I'm wrong. but I think y'all may be contributing to the world in way bigger ways than you know, which is cool. So
Yeah.
let me know the name of the TED Talk, I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure. No,
Do you think there's a parallel between jazz and
Dealing with children,
badly
yes.
behaved kids? Are they called badly behaved, or what's the correct?
Challenging behavior.
Challenging behavior.
Yep.
How do they get to your clinic?
They're referred from their schools. They're having trouble being in a regular school setting, and the schools refer them.
I was one of those kids. I went to somebody like you when I was in elementary school.
Oh,
That's worked out
well, we're
pretty
not
good.
an alternative school. I just want to be clear for the listeners.
Almost.
How would
went
I
there.
find you if I'm a troubled child or I have a troubled child?
The schools find us. We're the New Orleans
okay.
Therapeutic Day Program.
New Orleans Therapeutic Day Program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's through school, so I couldn't just find you as a parent.
You could,
My
and then we will
kids.
fight hard to get you there.
Okay.
But it's a great thing to Google.
To Google.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans Therapeutic Day Program. And you're the director of it?
I'm a clinical director,
Clinical
but I'm
director.
not the head honcho, but I can definitely get answers.
Okay. Wow.
Nice.
Man, this has been a pretty amazing conversation.
Fantastic.
here
Yeah, it
today,
has.
isn't it?
It's very cool.
Incredible.
So, Brett, well, how do we find you if I'm looking for answers to my...
Follow the Raven.
No.
How do you find me? I've got a website, brettwilltaylor.today, and I think there's a way
Dot
on there.
today?
Dot today.
I
Isn't
didn't
that
even
cool?
know you could do that.
I didn't either. Thank God for my web designer, but he thought that would work, and
Brett Will
sure.
Taylor today, yeah.
Yeah. Dot today.
Dot today.
We got to
Okay,
do the
yeah,
dot,
so
or you'll
dot
never
today.
find me. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so people make appointments and do you have an office or you work out of a bar or something?
I work.
Or-
I try not to. That didn't go well. That was an experiment that failed, but it's expensive. But yeah, people can get in touch, and we'll figure it out.
So we just find you and then they come to you. You don't have an office?
It depends on where I am because I travel around quite a
Oh,
bit.
you do?
So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Are
I
you
even
living
work
in-
with some people over the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's interesting. So you can read people's inner psyche without actually looking at them.
Yeah. I mean, we're all energy and matter, right? So it's all props.
Is that true, though? You can really get a feel of somebody without actually being in the physical presence of them.
Sure.
That's a pretty
Absolutely.
good talent to have.
I mean, I think
I
that
would
gets
like
to improv, right? It's all tied together in a
Well,
way.
can
yeah.
you have a relationship with someone like that
Sure.
without ever being in the same place?
Oh yeah. Well, because I mean, what's place but four walls? And I mean, like, where do you draw the line of how close do you have to be? So I think it's just a way of relating to folks.
Well, you can
I
have a
think.
relationship with me because you can pick up on that, but how do I relate to you?
That's
how do I-
not for
how
me
do
to
I
say.
che-
That's for you.
Can you teach other people to tune into that?
Again, I try to be really clear about what I do and don't do. I can I can tell stories to folks. I can, plant seeds. I can hold up mirrors, and sure, I can give people tips. But again, I think it's. I go back to music, or I go back to psychology, right? Books and classrooms and YouTube can only teach you so much, right? At some point, you gotta just listen to yourself and find that whatever it is that's going to keep teaching you and keep it alive.
On the on the western side of medicine, I would say we're doing telepsychiatry and telepsychology because there's also a epidemic crisis of mental health professionals that are available to the people that need it. So we definitely, it's meeting a need.
Okay.
And it's now to tie it all back together, it's listening.
Yeah.
And you can often listen to people better when you're not watching them. It's a different way.
That's why
of
we'd
hearing.
have a podcast.
That's exactly.
So you don't have to look at us. It's much better just to listen to us. isn't
Or
it?
bring
Yeah.
us drinks.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a very enlightening and
Thank you for
interesting
having us.
conversation.
I hope it wasn't too serious.
Not too serious. I don't think it was too
Pretty
serious, was
serious.
it?
So serious.
You think we got a bit
So
in
serious.
the weeds there?
Hope not.
I don't know. I just hope not.
It could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. You're right. That's always a good. It's always a good bar to have.
Let's let the doctor close us out.
Could have been a
Yeah.
lot worse. Thank you very much. Monica Stevens has been here.
Thank you.
Brett Will Taylor has been here. Alex Massa and Jonathan Freilich.
Thank you so much.
That's been Happy Hour for another week. Happy Hour today has been brought to us by Door Furniture for the last 80 years. Door Furniture has been serving retail customers throughout the greater New Orleans area from its home on Elysian Fields, also from Strategic Resumes. If you want to sharpen up your resume or your LinkedIn profile, thanks to Travel Central and Metairie. Basics Swim and Gym, Hangover Destroyer, and the Positive Vibrations Foundation, who create and encourage community through the development and preservation of arts, music, and heritage. Andrew Duhon will be back here next week, as will I. In the meantime, our show was produced today by Graham DePonte. Our associate producer is... who is our associate producer? Anybody know? Think back. I think our associate producer is retired or resigned. Our music director is Christian Unruh. Our associate music director is Monique Pyle. Thomas Walsh is our technical director. And today's show is not engineered by Garrett Pittman, but last week's was, actually. Thanks, Garrett, for that. Our Facebook Live feed director is Asher Griffith. Andrew Searock is our fact checker and social media connector. Our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on our show, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you can also check out many other previous happy hours that we've recorded, as well as some other shows we make around here, including Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, Live from Commander's Palace, and Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tucker, plus our award-winning podcast about death called Death the Podcast. You can also find out other great Louisiana podcasts as well at itsacadiana.com and itsbatonrouge.la. And you keep up with us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. Actually, on all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our It's New Orleans Facebook page. These photos were taken by Jill Lafleur. You can find more of Jill's photos at lafleurphoto.com. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, thanks for subscribing to us. Take a moment to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Our show was recorded live today at Wayfare on Ferret Street in Uptown New Orleans. Happy Hours, a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, everyone around the table here at Wayfare and back at our office at INO Broadcasting, thanks for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. I'll see you back here next week for more Happy Hour.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the all-new Pit Smoked Brisket. How would you like it?
I'll take a man who knows what's what.
Y'all know what? The all-new Pit Smoked Brisket at Subway is smoked slower than a slug going up a down escalator, that's what. I'm talking tender, juicy brisket, naturally pit smoked for at least 13 hours. What's more, it's got layer after layer of smoky flavor. Smoked cheddar and barbecue sauce on delicious Italian bread. Subway, make it what y'all want, what not. Limited time only at participating restaurants.